Good afternoon, everyone. Apologies for starting 5 minutes late, completely my fault. Welcome everyone to the meeting, and please can I remind you all that this meeting is being recorded and live streamed. To begin with, please note our evacuation procedure, which is as follows. There are no scheduled fire drills today. In the event of a continuous alarm sounding, please follow instructions from Combined Authority staff who will guide you immediately to the nearest fire exit, which is in this room behind you at the back. If this exit is unavailable or the alarm goes off when you are at or near reception, please use the main exit doors, which are the way you came in. The assembly point is on Portwall Lane. You will be accompanied by a member of staff. Thank you. Today's meeting is a really long meeting, I'm afraid. So we will be putting in some comfort breaks throughout, and I will ask colleagues to keep comments to not to a minimum, that would be unfair, but just brevity will be appreciated today. Please also note that the voting arrangements for all the items today have changed from previous meetings, and that's thanks to the English Devolution and Community Empowerment Act 2026, which represents a huge transfer of power from Whitehall to the West of England, and we'll talk about that more later. In the meantime, our monitoring officer, Bob Brown, will now provide an update on the new statutory guidance.
Thank you, Mayor. The regulation changed yesterday. That means that the new voting arrangements are now in place, which means that all votes, including budgets and other financial arrangements, are by a majority that must include the Mayor.
Thank you, Bob. Sorry, I'm going to hand this task over to Kevin.
I'll have a gin, thank you.
So today, as ever, I'm pleased to be joined by Councillor Kevin Guy, who is the leader of Bath and North East Somerset Council, Councillor Mike Bell, leader of North Somerset Council, Councillor Tony Dyer, leader of Bristol City Council, and our new Deputy Mayor of the West of England. Congratulations, Tony. And Councillor Ian Bolton, who is co-leader of South Gloucestershire Council. And I'm also pleased to be here with our committee chairs, Councillor Jerome Thomas, Chair of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, and Councillor David Wilcox, Chair of the Audit Committee. So we'll move on to item 2, declarations of interest. Do any members have declarations of interest to declare in relation to any of our agenda items? No. Okay, noted. Thank you. And item 3, minutes of the previous meeting. You can find these on pages 9 to 22 of your pack. The minutes of our meeting held on the 27th of March 2026 have been published. Do members have any matters of accuracy that they wish to raise?
Happy to move, Chair.
Lovely. Okay. Everyone happy with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. That is carried. Okay, so we'll move to item 4, which is Chair's announcements. I'm pleased to be back here again after another busy few months, although it does only feel like last week we were here. So today is an opportunity to focus on, as ever, this brilliant part of the world and everything that we are achieving together and everything that we are building towards here in the West of England. As we grow as a combined authority in every sense, it's vital that we take all of our communities with us. I'm pleased that we are one step closer to North Somerset Council joining us as a full partner after councillors voted to progress with joining the combined authority and after a supportive public consultation, and we'll talk more about that today. Last month was also special for me personally. It marked 1 year since I was elected as mayor. It has been a whirlwind, but I am genuinely very proud of what we've been able to achieve together in just that 1 year. We also launched our new Child Poverty Partnership Board last month, which I'm really proud to chair alongside Andy Street from Fair Share Southwest. The board brings together community leaders, experts from across the region around our shared ambition to build a better future for the tens of thousands of children in this region who are growing up in poverty. The board will track the delivery of our Child Poverty Action Plan, which is a key part of our growth strategy, and allow us to identify even more opportunities to pull every lever available to us, both regionally and nationally, to support families. One of our most important levers to tackle child poverty and connect more people to opportunity is to reduce the cost of living for families and children. That's why things like the new childcare checker tool being piloted by the Department for Education in our region is so important. Just like Kids Go Free, another key intervention to drive down costs for families across the region. And we also know that this universal offer has had the greatest impact in the areas that have needed it most. Research by the Brigstow Institute, Room 13 and Barton Hill Activity Club has found that giving kids free bus travel has opened up life across the region for those children who need it most, with 88% of parents saying that their children use the offer. So in mid-May, I was delighted to announce that Kids Go Free will return for the next 3 years during summer, Christmas and Easter holidays. And as we say in our growth strategy, the future does start here. The government then announced a scheme modelled on our regional offer, which will see 7.5 million children go free on the buses across England during this summer. This may well be the best thing that WECA has done to date, a simple but innovative idea announced in a South Bristol park last June, becoming a £100 million national initiative this August. I'm really genuinely very proud that we've inspired and made the case for something that will make such a difference to families across the whole country. That announcement came whilst we were at UK Reef, which is a major investment conference. We made the case again in Leeds for a massive new investment prospectus full of £17 billion worth of opportunities to create jobs, homes and infrastructure. We partnered with sponsors and championed what the West has to offer as the country's fastest growing regional economy. That includes Brabazon and the West Innovation Arc, Newtown, where we announced today's plans for our first mayoral development zone, Bristol Temple Quarter, mass transit, and £500 million Future Places Fund. I'm excited to see what comes next, thanks to our wider push for further trade and investment. People may know that one of the region's key growth sectors is, of course, our creative industries. Over the years, the West has served as inspiration for all kinds of music, film and television, and that continues today here in real life Rutshire. With Disney, the RTS West of England and Bottle Yard Studios, we hosted a special regional premiere of Series 2 of Rivals. We were joined by the Minister for Sport, that's Steph Peacock, not Rupert Campbell-Black, sadly. It was a real celebration of the immense talents that goes into making shows like Rivals on and off screen, including trainees from All Set West, which is our creative industries work experience programme. Film and TV production adds tens of £millions each year to our regional economy, something we'll be looking to build on through our Creative Places Growth Fund. And with the West Country on screen, more people are inspired to visit and fall in love with our region. We have a number of very exciting papers to consider this afternoon, which will all look to further invest in our part of the world. But before we get started, I would like to open the floor to my fellow leaders, and I would like to go first to Councillor Kevin Guy, who is leader of Bath and North East Somerset Council and was also my first deputy mayor. And I'd just like to place on record my thanks for supporting me in my first year, and also for all the work that you did to champion the region, including at Downing Street, I think. So yeah, it was a great year working with you, so I'm very grateful.
Because of the length of the meeting, I'll keep this very short. I'd just like to thank Helen. It's an extremely varied role being deputy mayor, and I wish Tony all the best in his year. I'd like to thank the staff for their support, and as Helen has pointed out, hosting business events and going to Downing Street to represent Helen and the region was a great honour, and I'm sure Tony will fill that role. I feel that probably we can strengthen it, and giving the deputy mayor a specific task from yourself to complete within a year would probably enhance the role and would support WECA and would support the region. But overall, it was a great honour. We've also started the new Transport Advisory Board. We don't need to talk about that at the moment, but that's covered a huge array of stuff. Very pleased to be talking about new railway stations in the region. First time they've been opening for a long time. All very good, all very positive, but the meeting's going to be very long, so I will keep that short. Thanks.
Lovely, thank you. That is appreciated by all. So I'll hand over to Tony, who is our new deputy mayor, which we announced earlier this month.
Thank you very much, and very pleased to be the second deputy mayor. I'll try and keep up the standards Kevin has gone through, even though he's already started by trying to give me another task to do.
Yeah, he didn't mention that when he was deputy mayor.
I did know that. I think there is a lot of very positive stuff, but in line with what Kevin has said, we do have a long meeting, so I'm not going to say too much. I think UK Reef, as you said, was very a lot of really positive interest in the west of England and what we're doing. I think also the number of affordable homes that we're now building is the highest we've ever built before. And we went to Dundry View recently in South Worcester to see the new council flats that have been built and standard there. Also in South Worcester, obviously we've got the Pride in place, and we've now appointed Paul Smith, former councillor for that area, to be the chairperson. But Paul and I met yesterday, and what we're very clear is that the decisions have to be made by the people who are living in Artcliffe, and we need to learn from previous efforts to bring prosperity to that part of the city. And then I'll just finish off by saying we had the Planning, Housing and Regeneration Advisory Board, and we looked at a couple of areas, in particular the Future Places Fund that you've already mentioned, but also the growth zone in the Severn Estuary in terms of what that can bring to the region, and also the local remediation acceleration plan. Obviously, we wanted to get more money out for that, but it's important that we get some money, and we go forward with that to make sure everybody feels safe.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Tony. I'll now go to Councillor Ian Bolton, who we welcome back to committee. It's shifted back from Maggie to Ian now.
Thank you, Helen. It's good to be back. A standout moment for us since the last meeting was the launch of OHB's new Aztec West spacecraft assembly facility with the UK Space Agency and regional partners last month. OHB is a major European space company, and the message was really clear that the west of England has real momentum, from our advanced robotics at UE to high-end manufacturing at Aztec West. So our region is helping power major European space missions. This is bigger than any one investment. It shows how we build a long-term innovation economy, and for South Gloucestershire, it underlines the importance of the West Innovation Arc in driving high-value jobs, stronger supply chains, and the skills we need to stay competitive. It was also a huge honour to be able to welcome tourism chiefs and businesses from across the country and beyond to Aerospace Bristol this week for the Visit England Excellence Award, where Visit West took the chance to premiere an exciting new promotional video. Visit West and Aerospace Bristol did us all proud, showcasing our region and our fantastic venue underneath our iconic Concorde Alpha Foxtrot.
Thank you so much. And Mike.
Yeah, thank you, Helen. I mean, just a few quick North Somerset highlights since we last met. We've been very much focused on continuing our service innovation and regeneration programme. So particularly, it's been fantastic that we've secured some additional investment from the government's Growth Mission Fund into the project to restore Burnback Pier. So we've now attracted more than £45 million of external funding to drive that project forward. And I would encourage colleagues to go and come and visit us in Weston and have a look at the astonishing progress that's happening. You know, after decades of neglect, we are going to get the pier bridge open next year, which is fantastic. We've secured a big high-profile commission for the Tropicana. Like our colleagues in Bristol, we're rolling out a Pride in Place programme for one of our more deprived areas with a £20 million investment over the next decade. And we've also just recently opened some new transport hubs across the district, including in Pill. And in terms of our award-winning successes, there's been some big awards that we've successfully won in our waste and recycling service recently, building on our success as one of England's most successful councils in terms of our recycling rate, and also being the first council in England to offer a curbside soft plastics recycling service for every household, which is fantastic. And we're doing some great work in digital innovation as well in our special educational needs and disability service. And again, the team has been shortlisted for 4 national awards. So great to see that sort of innovation recognised. I also chair the Environment Board on behalf of the Combined Authority, and we're due to have our second meeting next week. But what we are really focused on with the portfolio holders across the unitary authorities is really trying to focus on an action orientated approach so that we don't just become a talking shop. where we go around the houses in terms of some of the issues that are discussed in other places, but very much focused on how we can support the mayor and the combined authority to deliver the kind of action that we need on the environment. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Okay, so now we're going to move to item 5, which is items from the public. We received 42 questions. Oh, that was very good timing. 42 questions were received in advance of this meeting. And thank you so much to everyone for taking the time to submit them. The questions and my responses have now been published and they were circulated in advance of the meeting. In addition, we received 3 petitions and 46 statements. Again, thank you so much for submitting these. They've been published and circulated, and petitions should receive a written response within 10 working days. Some members of the public are in attendance and will be invited in turn to address the meeting. Because we have quite a few statements today and quite a few people have made the effort to be here, for which I thank you, we have decided that instead of the usual 2 minutes, we will ask people to address the meeting. Sorry, instead of the usual 3 minutes, we will ask people to address the meeting for 2 minutes so that we can hear from more people. And that's in response to feedback that we've had from previous meetings. But please do note that there is a maximum of 30 minutes in total for this session. So the clerk will indicate when you have 30 seconds speaking time left. And then again when your 2 minutes have elapsed. So I'd be really grateful if people could try and stick to that so that we can see if this way of doing it works. And I think it's key that we hear from as many people as possible on the broadest of topics. So we'll start with Sarah Freeman, if you're here, Sarah. Hello. Yeah, if you like.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes.
Yes, my name is Sarah Freeman and I'm a resident of Bitton in South Gloucestershire, and I want to talk about the WECA Strategic Greenbelt Assessment. I attended a South Gloucestershire Development Management Committee meeting regarding a planning in principle application on the A4175 of Cherry Garden Road, an area which is shown in table 4.1, the WECA Strategic Greenbelt Assessment. The assessment of the area P47 had 2 significant ratings. This land, however, has recently been granted a planning in principle permission by South Gloucestershire Council for 9 4-bedroom detached houses. These aren't affordable homes. What I'm concerned about is the fact that, considering WECA said this land played a significant contribution to the green belt, stating the A4175 was noted as making a clear separation between urban and rural areas, the South Gloucestershire Council has deemed otherwise. They state in their report, page 101, paragraph 5.12, the WECA SGBA records P47 as making a significant contribution to this purpose. Whilst noting this, it has considered that P47 is a much larger parcel than the application site itself, and they consider it as grey belt. I disagree with what they say. They are setting a precedent for other developers to use this. I am concerned the council are ignoring the WECA Greenbelt assessment and allowing developers to build in greenbelt land. I'd be grateful if you could help or assist in this matter.
Thank you so much, Sarah. The next statement is from Stuart Phelps.
I will be very brief for you. The Milburn report, which has recently come out, actually offers you a way of gluing together several issues that have come up today. Pride of place, the need to tackle child poverty, the need to close the skills gap, which the West actually has very badly between those who are poor and those who are rich. And my problem, my worry, is that if we're not careful, it will become another usual suspects exercise. And instead of picking up on the point that Tony and Paul made, that an initiative has to come from within the community, it will be a top-down, large organizations coming in, sucking up the money, deprivation farming. I ask you not to do that.
Thank you very much, Stuart. I appreciate that, and I appreciate the brevity as well. Okay, and the next statement is Councillor David Harding.
Thank you. I'm reading this statement as one of the ward councillors for the Chew Valley. I'd like to highlight that I'm very concerned that the once successful X91 route in and out of Bristol has had significant issues with the quality of service since Wecker took over the management of this route and a change of operator to Euro coaches. Chew Magna is the second largest village in my ward, our ward, and residents' use of the X91 service has been restricted because there is no longer a stop that can be used in the village by the bus going into Bristol, despite there being, in fact, many bus stops. In addition, I'm very concerned that in an effort to create a bus network across the area, Wecker has failed to consult with local communities and not made use of the Chew Valley Sustainable Transport Group or us as ward councillors. Surely Wecker should be speaking to important local groups and ward councillors as a matter of course over such vital community assets. Most recently, I've been told of a plan to cut Ubley, Compton Martin, West Hartree and East Hartree from the route in order to fund a new overly circuitous bus route that takes 2 hours to get from Bristol to Bath. I gather that this concept came with an external consultant, no doubt extremely expensive, who conducted a paper exercise rather than finding out what local people want. Local people want the X91, and the Chew Valley Sustainable Transport Group have proposed a sensible solution to covering a similar network footprint while still retaining the X91. Please listen to this suggestion and have the common sense to adopt it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David. And on the same topic, we've now got Jackie Head.
Okay, so I'm also speaking for the Chew Valley. I can say I'm speaking for the Chew Valley because I have here a petition that's signed by over 1,000 people in the Chew Valley asking for the X91 to be retained. West Local was designed to empower local communities to research community needs, design new bus routes aligned to those needs, and then work with an operator of our choice to bring about the service and continually improve it over time. We have kept to our part of the bargain. In the 18 months we were overseeing the X91 service, we carried out 4 major surveys in our area. We held 3 large consultation events, presented to numerous community groups and attended local events as well as running our own. We worked with local businesses to get them to promote the route and ensured that every person living in the area received a paper copy of the timetable. That's about 4,000 door-to-door deliveries every 6 months. We have a Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp following, and at the moment we're working with GWR to promote the X91 as a bus to train route. As a result, the X91 has been very popular. It came from nothing to something that really usefully serves 8 villages in the Chew Valley. So Mayor Godwin, I know you're a big fan of public transport and of buses. I know it matters to you that it's available to all and priced in a way that makes it possible for everyone to use. I know you value community engagement and creativity born in community. So please listen to our plea and intervene to help retain the X91 rather than following a plan consulted through a paper exercise and not through consultation. I want to keep coming to these meetings, but the reality is my village is one of the ones that will be cut off. So this may be the last meeting I get to. Wouldn't that be a terrible way to end my 6 years of campaigning for buses, including receiving an
2 minutes
if I couldn't make it? But it's not about me. It's about 1,000 plus people who've signed here. And it's about all those statements that have been written by people from the Chew Valley.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jackie. And just to, you and I have met and engaged several times now, and I do genuinely appreciate all that you do and how much commitment you put into this. So you are being heard. Okay, next statement is also on the X91. There is a theme today, and this is Elaine Workman.
Thank you. As a resident of the Chew Valley, I would like to raise my voice for the X91 Chew Valley Sprint bus. Last year, I needed to attend chemotherapy treatments for breast cancer in our wonderful BRI hospital in the centre of Bristol on a weekly basis. If it hadn't been for the X91 Chew Valley Sprint direct bus to Bristol, I would not have been able to attend these sessions. I'm not sure I would have been able to afford to get taxis. And even if I could, I'm not sure there's much availability of taxi firms in the Chew Valley rural area. The bus has been a reliable and safe space for me to travel on board, and the bus operator, the Big Lemon, as a CIC organisation, has offered exceptional customer service and care during this time, which was very important to me, especially at times I looked very noticeable in my headscarf. I still very much need to use this bus service, as although my cancer has completely gone, I'm still receiving treatment at the BRI. And in fact, the X91 has been a fantastic way of linking me to people and places as I work remotely. And work in cafes in the city centre helps me not be so isolated during the working week. My ask is a simple one. We need this bus for the whole of the Chew Valley. It is the only bus network to Bristol we have, and it is so very important. Thank you.
Thanks, Elaine, and I'm really glad to hear you're doing well as well. Thank you for coming in. Okay, the next statement is Christina Biggs.
Christina Biggs from the Bristol Rail Campaign. We very much welcome North Somerset joining WECA, and we already have our shopping list for you to consider. So one of the things we talked about is Uphill Village, which is just on the loop line as you leave the main line towards Weston-super-Mare, and that's really well positioned for the hospital, for the Locking estate. There's also the Western campus there in Uphill Village. Secondly, Nelson Backwell Station still needs improved disabled access, and then to the airport. We've got one suggestion, which is to use the Callington Road link to get to the airport, or obviously you can take it off the main line at Long Ashton. I understand both things are on the table. Please let's see that happen. And accessing funds for the upkeep of Somerset levels. So I became aware of the issue when I went to the North Somerset meeting. They're very preoccupied with it. And as you can see, I did ask a formal question of WECA. I'm relieved to hear that you talked to Environment Agency and you can help maybe access Network Rail funds to help sort them out. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. The next statement is Helen Hughes.
Hello, thank you. So my statement's about the proposed traffic restrictions in Southville. I submitted a question to the Overview and Scrutiny Committee for Monday and received a response. So my question was, given it is now widely known that Bristol City Council has and continues to cherry pick data in an attempt to prove a high level of through traffic in Southville, and that proof of such traffic is necessary to secure funding for the scheme there, which must include modal filters, can you clarify exactly what criteria you need to grant funding for a trial scheme in that area? The response included the following words: the authority does not apply a single traffic threshold or specific level of through traffic that would automatically secure or prevent funding. I interpret this as implying that there is no specific metric of traffic data necessary for the council to secure funding from WECA for low traffic neighbourhoods. Questions submitted by Matt Sanders to this committee for this meeting make clear that this response appears to be in direct contradiction to the Department for Transport statutory guidance, which states that for an LTN to be implemented, it must lead to a reduction or even removal of traffic, through traffic in an area. It's difficult to comprehend how funding could be granted to reduce through traffic when there is no proof that there is a problem that needs fixing. If WECA is following Bristol City Council in instead relying on subjective perceptions of levels of through traffic, to implement major changes on our residential roads and the consequent upheaval for the lives of many, this would imply some worryingly arbitrary and potentially biased decision-making regarding the use of public funds. The response continued, funding rules do not require the use of any specific traffic management measures, which appears to further contradict the City Council's own clear statement that modal filters must be a part of the schemes. Further, the response was schemes must also comply with national design standards and consider a range of other factors, hints at the use of modal filters after all. The response to my question is therefore very confusing on several counts, and I would urge I would urge WECA to resolve these contradictions and ensure that they are very clear about what they are funding here. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next statement is Councillor Christine Townsend.
Thank you. So I'm here to speak to some of the content of the I think it's item number 11. I'm particularly concerned, my concerns relate to the success measures and how they correspond with those legal responsibilities of the unitary authorities within WACA. I've got particular concerns around how we measure 16 and 17-year-olds that are NEET, because both of those year groups need to be in full-time education for the whole time, and therefore a 3-month FE course would see them become NEET again. And the other group of young people that I'm concerned about are those that are 19 to 25 with an EHCP, because there's a lot of authorities, we have responsibility towards those young people as well. So I think what I'm asking of you, Mayor, is that your officers are able to hear what it is that the local authorities are saying to them that they need in order to make sure that the outcome successes that WECA are using correspond with those, that the local authorities already have, but also raise those expectations for those young people. I heard you, we were at the same event this week. I know we're on the same page with this, and it's just about trying to make sure that those outcomes are good measures of success for our NEET young people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councillor Townsend. Okay, the next statement is Matt Sanders.
Hi. A low traffic neighbourhood is a scheme which uses modal filters to eliminate through traffic. Show 12 modal filters in the Southville zone, and to justify them, the council claims traffic data show that high numbers of vehicles use residential streets in Southville as a cut through to other destinations. But what traffic data proves this claim? 2 years ago, 25 ANPR cameras gathered origin-destination data for thousands of vehicles, but none of them were in the Southville zone or at its main entrances and exits. So this data does not demonstrate any quantity of through traffic in Southville, let alone high numbers. But on 29th of April, after negative media reports, the council suddenly published a new document. This was a through traffic interactive map using telematic data from sat-navs. The council quoted figures of 85% through traffic in Raleigh Road, despite each end of the same road showing 40% at the same time. But the map also assigns 81% through traffic to Upper Sydney Street, a very short cul-de-sac, which leads to nowhere, let alone all the way through the Southville neighbourhood. What the algorithm is measuring here is vehicles which stop for a few minutes while their drivers visit the Tesco Metro. Because any vehicle which visits any destination in Southville without parking for more than 10 minutes gets classed by this map. Every taxi, every delivery driver, every recycling lorry or car sharing parent collecting kids for the school run is counted as through traffic on every road they pass through. Yet these are all legitimate journeys by and for residents. The map's algorithm is not assessing whether vehicles are cutting through the neighbourhood from one side to the other. It is using a completely different definition and then calling it through traffic. Everyone assumes just because the same words are used, they are describing the same thing, but they are not.
Thank you very much. Okay, the next statement is Rosa Kell.
Hello, thank you very much for allowing me to speak. I will be very brief as well, given the time. I'm also going to be talking about buses. Please, can we make sure that we get details of these 26 different bus routes that were tendered that are going to be put in place, hopefully. We welcome your effort last year for children travelling free and now national bit. But if the buses are not there, these children are not going to be able to get to the Mendips. They're not going to get to the Sober Valley. They're not going to be able to get to the Chew Valley or the lakes or any of these enjoyable places they can get through the summer. Please, can we have that information? Also, would greatly appreciate if somehow you could bring the Westlink call centre into in-house like North Somerset have. Perhaps talk to Somerset, perhaps talk to Wiltshire, find some way of maybe doing it in the UK. There is a lot of problems with passengers trying to book while the call centre is in Spain because they can't make themselves understood. They can't sort of basically get their journeys because they don't understand our town names and things like that. We need to better look at that Westlink call centre, please. And of course, bus infrastructure. North Somerset have done a
20 seconds left.
wonderful job. So have Baines. Can we make sure that the West of England also have the same standard of cleanliness and lighting and all the things that are required? Please talk to Somerset Unitary, talk to Gloucestershire, as it's going to be together. Try to bring them, as you have done, North Somerset into the WEC.
That's 2 minutes.
This is where our travel is. This is where our hospitals are. This is where our work items are. We need to be together. We need to be a united West of England. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rosa. The next statement is Phil Collins.
Thank you. I'm Dr. Phil Collins from the Chew Valley Sustainable Transport Group, yes, another one. Several colleagues and residents have very ably described the importance of the X91 to the Chew Valley. My full statement reminded the committee of the real people involved and the impact by this service and the importance of community engagement. Our group helped design, develop and run the X91 until April. Everything we do is based pragmatically on real data. It may feel like a group like ours is a set of people just trying to do good and that your professionals and consultants know more. In truth, our local knowledge enhances your understanding of what's needed if you will let it. Now to finish, because I'm going to try and keep it short, I know your jobs are difficult ones. There's always more demand than you can deliver. But sometimes there have to be decisions that can be made that successfully address local needs where the need is proven and quantified and that fit with the affordability envelope. Supporting the X91 unchanged and within the network scheme we have proposed for the people of the Chew Valley is, I believe, one of those.
Thank you. And I think that is the last statement today on the X91. So I would just like to thank you all for making the effort to come in and for all the work that you do. It is noted and valued. Thank you. The next statement is Joe Sargent.
Good afternoon. This is about buses again, surprise, surprise. We at Reclaim Our Buses very much welcome the expansion of the free fares for children scheme. It's really encouraging to see the uptick in bus use and the potential for greater independence and opportunity for the region's young people. What concerns us is that there are parts of the region that won't see these benefits, and they are often where they're most needed. These are often in the more remote parts of the West of England, in which buses are less frequent, bus stops are further away from people's homes, and the lack of integration has a greater impact in terms of ticketing and fares. Aside from our usual call for a better model of bus service management, i.e. franchising, Reclaim Our Buses recommend enhancing free buses for children with improvements to services in the shorter term that could see real benefits for those living in transport deserts. So some examples here. free fares for children on supported bus services at other times, not just in the school holidays. That way they can get to main bus routes and pay just the £1 fare like other children living in the better served areas. Free or cheaper fares for parents, carers accompanying younger children during the school holidays, and youth culture vouchers such as are used in Spain, which could be directed to more rural communities and areas of high deprivation, which could be used to access different experiences around the region. So that's not strictly a transport improvement, but it could provide additional incentive to use the buses when it doesn't feel easy to do so. Would also say the strong case for changing some of the supported services so they run shorter shuttle type routes between transport hubs. This would improve their reliability and frequency. Some of the money that that's going into the draft local transport delivery plan, the 500 million, perhaps some of that could be spent on some of those changes rather than on private consultants. If some of that money was spent implementing the above improvements, the benefits would be felt by many residents within months rather than in years or decades.
Thank you, Jo. And the next statement is from Councillor Fiona Gawley.
Thank you. With the new supported bus network in North East Somerset about to go live, I want to reflect on the process and the positive outcomes that will benefit our residents. Since I was elected 3 years ago, I have observed a transformation in the relationship between WECA and the unitary authorities, particularly around my remit of rural buses in Baines. The past was marred by significant rural bus cuts, limited consultation, the imposition of schemes such as the birthday buses, which benefited urban residents, Westlink, which was mostly a disaster in Baines, and West Local, which was unfair to the volunteers who worked extremely hard to run their bus services and unfair to the communities who couldn't participate because they did not have those volunteers. As a result, communities were stranded, residents were frustrated and angry, and in Baines we ended up with a patchwork, not a network of supported services. However, things are changing. Under the present regime, WECA is undoubtedly working better with UAs. Councillors' voices on behalf of residents are being heard alongside the mayors. WECA officers have worked collaboratively with Baines officers and members to design a new rural bus network in North East Somerset. We have listened to councillors, campaigners and residents, as well as using connectivity data. We've planned new routes which we hope will meet our residents' needs better. It should be more equitable with fewer stranded communities, more frequent services and better timetables, connecting rural communities to Bath, Bristol, Midsummer Norton, Radstock, Keynsham and to each other. Westlink has a new operator and a better contract that allows fixed routes, fixed stable services to get children to school and people to work and to fill the gaps where there are no regular buses. I really hope that it works better than before. Once the tenders have been contracted, WECA and Baines need to sort out anomalies such as bus stops and some of the issues with Westlink. WECA needs a better mechanism to consult with councillors, residents and campaigners. One campaigner has suggested that WECA's bus plan consultation has shown it can be done. One campaigner has suggested that WECA has a fix my bus button on their website. The financial reality is that the cut in bus funding from government, we have had to do more with less. Therefore, it's a real achievement to have created a new bus network that should be better than it went before. The proof will be when residents learn about the new routes and start to use the buses from the 1st of August.
Thank you, Fiona. And the next statement is from Caroline Dunn.
Thank you very much. I will be extremely brief because I know that time is important. I want to talk about safety. I want to talk about access for the disabled. The first and most important thing is safety. As I know you have the ear of central government, I would like you to bend it, please, because we have been moving from registered cars with very good, well thought out legislation, traffic legislation backing it up, to unregistered bicycles with no legislation. And what we are now getting is a lot of very dangerous riding by very bloody-minded bicyclists. This does not apply to all of them, but it applies to quite a significant number because all sorts of people, especially disabled people, are now becoming frightened of cyclists. They have, in particular, a dispensation to go through red traffic lights. And I feel that the reason we are not allowed in cars to go through red traffic lights is a very good one, having seen some very near misses in the last month or 6 weeks. So please, they also exceed the speed limits, which they seem to think don't apply to them. So please, can you get central government to register bicycles and to apply our good traffic legislation to them? The second thing I'd like to say is, if you allow them to stop all vehicles, Bristol City Council to stop all vehicle access to the horse fair, you will prevent me and many other people being able to access Broadmead, being able to access Cabot Circus, being able to access Sparks, being able to access the pedestrian areas within Broadmead, and being able to spend our money and enjoy events. And so I would really like you to do whatever weight you can, because Bristol City Council seems to have a plan whereby it is removing Bristol in change of what can only euphemistically be called a green and pleasant land in that area.
Thank you, Caroline. And then the penultimate statement is Alexandra, is it Veitch or Vitch? Veitch.
I'm hoping Satchin's going to get a go here as well. And it's what I've got too long. Essentially, SBLN, it's not fit for purpose, and no one really understands it because it doesn't make any sense. We live in a small urban area with many parks, lots of parks. Why do we need more green spaces? Things like that. They're planting trees on North Street. North Street has trees already. What we need is more parking spaces, as we said in the surveys. And I very much hope, so I don't think a lot of it bears scrutiny. I hope that the budget of £700,000 coming from the SBLN isn't actually the fact that they've culled trees in other areas, they've felled trees in other areas, and they therefore have to replant. And so they're using this budget in order to fulfill that responsibility. That's just one thing. Buses, again, central to anything like this, buses needed to be the central focus and were missing. And there's something in there that in the guidelines for the rollout of LTNs, wherever they are, it is walking, cycling and public transport. It is completely missing from the South Bristol Liverpool neighbourhood. Now, I've been a resident of Raleigh Road for since 1992. Okay, 1992. And what happened between the 90s and the noughties is they took all the buses away. We had the City Dart, Bewley Road, Raleigh Road, Deer Lane. They went, and then guess what? A steep rise in cars. Now we have a car problem. How are we going to solve that? For the people like me who are now getting elderly, for the people who are disabled, we can't walk and cycle in the same way as everyone else like we used to. We need public transport, and it's just not there. Not more buses from Clifton.
That's 2 minutes.
Temple Meads, I'm getting there, but we need one. There's not one from Temple Meads to where we are, or even to Ashton Gate Stadium. Finally, the data and statistics don't add up. The testing, it's too piecemeal. It's not robust. It's not consistent. And lastly, Raleigh Road again, there was a statistic of 2,500 cars down Raleigh Road per day. Poppycock. It's nonsense. And I'm suspicious, I'm getting there, suspicious that there is statistics being wafted around that are being cherry-picked. And I just urge WECA, please can you scrutinise what Matthew was saying, what we're saying, scrutinise the data, the statistics, and actually the premise on which this is happening. Thank you.
Thanks, Alexandra. Okay, and the final statement today is from Satyen Joshi.
Thank you. So if I had to summarize my statement today, a good place would be from a quote from a German philosopher who once said that the strength of mind is measured by its ability to endure truths that do not align with its beliefs. Now, the relevance of this quote can be distilled or framed into a question to Bristol City Council's Highways Department, which is, do they have the integrity, the strength of mind to respect the truth of the SBLM results, even though the results did not shape out in the manner in which they expected them to turn out. And just to put that in context, 70% of residents rejected the use of any model filters as a traffic intervention. More than 85% of businesses on North Street do not want the SBLN because of an impact on traffic, on trade. And that should be the end of that failed experiment. But instead, what we have is the head of BCC Transport going on radio live and saying that he is committed.
There's 30 seconds left.
Still wants to retain it on. I appreciate that the ideological beliefs that they have, which contravene or in conflict with the results, but going against the will of the majority is tantamount and I hope as a collective to put an end to this.
Thank you very much for that, and thank you so much to everyone who has come today to read their statements. They are all heard, and I appreciate very much you coming in. So that concludes this item. Thank you once again. The next item is comments from the West of England Combined Authority Overview and Scrutiny Committee. So I'd like to invite Jerome to address the meeting, but can I also just point out that there is a specific item for the annual report for the committee later on. So if you are able to keep these comments short, that would be appreciated.
Thank you, Matt. I'll try and keep both comments short. I've also slightly lost my voice today.
That's helpful.
So we've given detailed written feedback in terms of overview and scrutiny from Monday. So I'll just highlight a sort of handful of points. The first, I think, is with the kind of master planning that we've got going on at the moment. I mean, the papers for this meeting include some master planning around Hicksgate and around the good news around the kind of Brabbers and West Innovation Arc. And we've also got the spatial development strategy coming. And I think the key kind of message for you guys is making sure that local councillors and communities are kept on board and being as clear as possible about whether it's WECA's responsibility to do that or the unitary authority's responsibility to that. But the crucial thing is that level of consultation and engagement doesn't fall between the gaps. So that was the first item. I think that the second one is just picking up the increasing need. We've got 700 pages of papers for this meeting. It's quite difficult sometimes to see the wood for the trees. The auditors have commented on the need for a kind of greater operational focus for WECA. And Stephen Peacock's very clear about that need for kind of a dashboard of key performance indicators. And we as a committee have been requesting kind of reporting against a quarterly business plan. And Stephen, as chief exec, has said that's a priority for the organisation. We can be looking at that in the autumn. So we're kind of encouraged that we'll be able to look at that, and probably that would be appropriate with the audit committee as well. Two other items, the first of which was the Brownfield site paper. We welcome that funding. We didn't feel that the principles and objectives of that fund were quite clear enough within the paper, nor the kind of control mechanisms for distribution. So we very much appreciate that money under government conditions needs to be ready to be distributed quickly for very worthwhile purposes. but we need to make sure again that kind of accountability, transparency, that the fund is achieving what you want it to achieve, is taking place. And then the final thing, which isn't mentioned in the papers, but it's treading through that minefield in the transport area. There's so much going on in transport, and in places there's reduced funding in some places, there's increased funding in others. As a scrutiny committee, we welcome the commitment for increased briefing sessions on a range of topics, whether it's supported buses, bus reform, TCR, and some of those big decisions and big applications to government will be taking place in sort of September, October. So there's a kind of a very crowded agenda, and obviously a lot of interest in getting some of these things right as well. So, we need organisationally, the authority needs to keep a kind of close eye on that and bring people with the authority, scrutiny, the community, and the unitary authorities. So that's our feedback there. Thank you very much.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Jerome. Okay, so moving on to item 7, which is comments from the West of England Combined Authority Audit Committee. So I'll invite David to address the meeting, and same again, I know there's a report later on, so brevity is appreciated today.
Thank you, Mayor. The Audit Committee reconvened on the 27th of April to debate and receive assurance and note on the following items. There was an information governance update. New legislation is being introduced about subject access requests and retention schedules. The Combined Authority received 175 freedom of information and subject access requests in 2025. This will become a regularly reported item. The Treasury Management Monitoring Report, Q3 25-26. The MCA has investment balances of £460 million, and in the last 2 weeks of the financial year, the MCA paid out £50 million, mostly in outstanding grant claims. Recent world events such as the Iran war have affected the pooled funds of over £51.9 million, reducing them by £3.5 million. The review of the reserves policy. The minimum recommended reserve position is 5% of revenue expenditure, indicating a suitable reserve of 8.7 million as a minimum. General reserves currently stand at 9.6 million pounds. The United Kingdom Shared Prosperity Fund, the MCA used this fund to support multiple projects in the region, and the UK SPF ends in September 26. Other funds will be made available to support the projects, and the MCA hopes to secure increased funding from central government. We also discussed the interim audit annual report, which is coming later in the meeting, and we also discussed the forward work plan. We have a very busy plan over the next 12 months. We'll be considering the possibility of holding additional meetings to accommodate the committee's due diligence. I'd like to thank all the officers who reported to the committee for providing reports that are clear and concise. The audit committee was due to meet on April 27th, directly after that meeting, to discuss a review of the Constitution. But after consulting the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government, it was decided to postpone this meeting to later in the year, as the devolution bill had not yet received royal assent. We've not yet scheduled that date for that meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Okay, so we'll move on to our substantive business now. So item number 8 is the MCA mayoral budget outturn 25-26, and that's pages 23 to 82 in the report pack. So this report represents the revenue and capital outturn for the most recent financial year. The report notes that the final outturn for our revenue budget for 25-26 is £174 million, which is £8 million lower than the current budget. The final outturn for our capital programme for 2025-2026 is £199.9 million, which is £39 million lower than the current budget. This shows that we have strengthened our financial resilience above the minimum recommended level, which will allow us to continue to deliver core projects across areas like the environment, economy and skills, transport, homes and regeneration, as well as strategy. This paper is just for noting, but I would like to open the floor to my fellow leaders to provide a comment if they would like. Ian.
No, thank you.
Kevin. Mike. Okay, lovely. There's one recommendation on page 23 for noting, so no voting is required. Are leaders happy that we note?
Thank you.
Super, thank you very much. Okay, moving swiftly on then to one of our big papers, item 9, which is the investment fund programme and grant assurance. That is pages 83 to 108 in the pack. And this paper provides an update on the overall investment fund programme and the headroom within that programme. These investment fund projects span a huge breadth of work in areas like climate and nature, sustainable transport, heritage and culture, and a significant cost of living intervention through our distribution hub. So before we get into the detail of the projects, I first wanted to highlight the progress made on the Bath Battery Museum, which has recently secured planning permission and will be a wonderful addition to the arts, tourism and the heritage sector, I think not just for Bath, but actually for the whole country. So that is an exciting development. Hopefully people will know that I'm very passionate about the distribution hub, which is a joint project with Bristol Charities, who operate across the whole region, not just in Bristol. It will act as a central site for redistributing surplus goods from businesses and public sector partners to those who need them most. This will be a vital lifeline for residents struggling to access basics like clothes, bedding, toiletries, furniture and baby products. And additionally, with FareShare Southwest, the hub will also redistribute much needed food in an intervention that will jointly tackle food insecurity and waste. In 2024-25, they distributed a massive 664 tonnes of food within our region. As work on the distribution hub progresses, FareShare Southwest will be able to use the hub's distribution network to broaden its reach and serve residents across the whole region, ensuring that no community is left behind, and work in partnership with the wider voluntary and community sector across the whole of the west of England. The projected impact of the hub's partnership working model is that 4.3 million meals will be provided over 10 years of operation, supporting nearly 28,000 residents across the region. So today we'll be seeking approval for a slight change in the way we sign off the full business case, given the speed at which the industrial market is moving, so that we can secure those premises. Another key project in the investment fund is the Nature Recovery Fund, which will invest £5 million of capital to help accelerate delivery of the local nature recovery strategy. The fund will focus on delivering projects that reverse biodiversity decline and connect our residents to habitats and beautiful natural landscapes. These will be developed with the West of England Nature Partnership, and the importance of these projects will again be underlined by next week's West of England State of Nature report. As our green spaces and natural landscapes are at the heart of what makes our region special, these programmes are vital for ensuring their future. They are important not just for us to enjoy, but for our health, our well-being and resilience in a world with increasingly changing climates. The paper also proposes £868,500 to be allocated to fund cladding remediation in the West of England, secured from the government. Following the Grenfell Tower tragedy, it's vital that we do all we can working together as a region, including with local councils and of course the fire service and beyond. And on the transport side of things, we're continuing to drive the decarbonisation of our bus fleet and make our bus system a sustainable, efficient way for residents to get around. The paper proposes a new grant funding agreement for existing funding from the Zebra Fund. I recently saw the first green buses to serve Bath, including the West's first repower buses, which is where we've taken an old diesel bus and it's been converted into an electric bus. In fact, I even drove it, which I didn't know about in advance, so that was fun. But we've got the charging infrastructure now in the depot at Bath, and we've got 250 green buses will be serving the region's routes by the end of this year, and the electrification of the depots in Lawrence Hill and Hengrove also in train. So before we vote, I'd like to open the floor to fellow leaders in case there's anything in that I've missed. Let's start with Kevin.
That was exceptionally good, Mayor. Thank you. Yeah. Nature Recovery Fund, you touched on there, the Nature Partnership. Some exciting proposals coming through there. Look forward to seeing them, including the Summer Valley and across Bath as well. You mentioned the Fashion Museum. Look forward to full business case coming forward in October. The distribution hub is an outstanding concept and fully support it. There are, you obviously mentioned the food share Southwest. Fair share Southwest. Put my teeth back in. There's some great projects in Bath. I think one of the issues with this originally, they thought it was going to be very Bristol based, and we had that conversation. I'm really pleased that it's not. It's a cross-regional organisation, so it has my full support with things like middle ground growers, which grow locally sourced food, which is so important in the current climate emergency that we're facing. So more than happy to support these recommendations. Thank you, Mayor.
Wonderful. Thank you. Tony.
Thank you. I'll pick up on a couple of things. I think, first of all, the local remediation acceleration plan. I mean, let's get the slightly negative bit out of the way. I mean, no, we're happy to accept the allocation we received from Earth and government. However, we should acknowledge that it's not as much as we felt was needed, and the fire service obviously also said how much they felt was needed. And I think we will need to keep going back to government and hopefully get more funding for that. But I don't think that's unique to us. I think that's other areas have had the same situation. I think I'm looking forward to the progression of the distribution hub. It's clear from the reports that we've seen that there are families in crisis right across our region. And I fully welcome this board intervention into a failing market in order to support them. And I look forward to that coming to fruition. Nature recovery obviously is vital for restoring biodiversity and building resilience. The £5 million investment will be vital. We are in that situation where we are a growing region. We have the fastest growing regional economy in the country, but we also have, as you mentioned earlier, have large areas of green space and biodiversity that we need to protect. And being able to do that, this fund will help us and support us to carry on doing that. And then finally, I think it's just generally, when you look through this, there is so much that is happening and so much that is coming forward. And I think it does demonstrate a step up from where we were a year or even certainly 2 years ago. So it's good to see all this coming forward and much more in the papers to follow.
Brilliant. Thank you, Tony. Mike, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I was just going to say three things, really. I'll completely echo what everyone else has said around the Nature Recovery Fund. Really welcome that and look forward to working with the Environment Advisory Board in supporting the use of that fund going forward. Very important investment. Secondly, really welcome the recognition of the North Somerset Growth Gateway in the investment fund and the opportunities that we've got to drive economic growth, create jobs and deliver new housing in North Somerset. And it just underlines the important role that we all play across the west of England as the building blocks to making this a successful place to live. And I was just going to say, I also do welcome the commitment to partnerships and stronger partnerships with the voluntary and community sector. But I'm just going to also recognise that in North Somerset, I think we are a bit behind the curve in terms of our capacity in our BCSE sector. So we would look forward to working with the Combined Authority and with the other UAs to further strengthen that, so we can make sure that all of our communities benefit from a stronger voluntary sector and not we don't just end up reinforcing existing support systems out there.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Thanks, Mike. Ian.
Thank you, Helen. Yeah, delighted to be supporting all of the recommendations here. Just wanted to comment on the distribution hub proposal, which we think is a real practical proposal, will deliver real impact very quickly, tackling cost of living pressures, reducing waste and supporting our most vulnerable residents. And we acknowledge that this is going to be a regional first, so well done on that. It also aligns really closely with our shared priorities of reducing inequality, supporting household resilience and making better use of resources that are already in the system. So we really support this, but the delivery, there has to be a but. First of all, the name, we have to think of a better name for it. and the delivery is going to be the key here. So as Kevin was touching upon there, securing the right site, ensuring that equitable distribution and developing that strong partnership model is going to be important. And for us in South Gloucestershire, the key point is going to be the reach of this. It needs to work across the whole region, not just central locations, ensuring that all communities benefit equally from what should be a genuine, positive and regional asset. So I'm delighted to see the reference on paragraph 9 on page 88 that states, and I'll just read it out, the full business case will establish the regional evidential base for the proposal, outlining a clear plan for building VCSE capacity to ensure equitable impact across the region and present a comprehensive programme for monitoring and evaluation with effective oversight from all UAs. So this is going to be important that the full business case fully addresses these matters so that officers can approve it. And if and when we get that right, we think this is a scheme that will make a tangible difference quickly and at scale. So congratulations to everyone that's been working on this.
Thanks, Ian. That's really kind. I appreciate that. Okay, so there are 9 recommendations in this paper. They are found on page 83 and 84. 3 of those are for noting only. If we're happy, we can take these en bloc. Do I have a proposer? Yeah. Great, thanks, Ian. A seconder?
Happy to do so.
Okay, so all those in favour? Great. Okay, so that is carried. So following on from Ian's point, I can now announce that that's gone through, that the snappy sounding regional distribution hub is only a working title, and that we will be setting up a form on our website, which we will push out through our social media channels so that people can submit their own suggestions for what we might call this national first. So I'm really keen that people get involved with that, but we are going to rule out hubby McCupface if that comes up. So that's your suggestion out.
Keep it on the table.
Brilliant. Okay, I am genuinely thrilled that we have passed that paper. I think it's a real milestone for us. Okay, so item 10, moving swiftly on, is delivery assurance. This follows on from the previous paper. This report outlines changes to schemes within the investment fund against the agreed delivery assurance principles. The report shows that there are a total of 32 projects that have submitted change requests, which have come to this committee for approval, and they are listed in Appendix 1. The report also notes that as part of the CRSTS programme Lessons Learned review, the CRSTS programme board has agreed to provide additional flexibility for the programme to move risk funding between CRSTS only projects that already have full business cases approved and delivery funding awarded. So that will provide more flexibility within councils to deliver key CRSTS schemes across the whole region. I think that makes sense. Yeah. Before we vote, I'll open up the floor. Start with Mike this time. No? Ian? Kevin? Nope. Tony, go on.
Yeah, go on. I think I just very quick point out a couple of things that connects together, which is the Engrove Park enabling works. I mean, we mentioned at the beginning that we were up at Engrove Park about looking at Dundee Review, which is bringing forward council homes. The Engrove Park enabling homes will bring more homes into South Worcester, including 50% of them being truly affordable. And that would complement the other investments that are going into South Worcester at the moment. And then looking more at the centre of Worcester, obviously one of the things that people like most about Worcester is the harbour. And the harbour place open strategy is both going to improve the harbour so that it becomes cleaner, it becomes easier to use, and also the harbour will connect together areas like Temple Quarter, the city centre, Western Harbour and Bedminster East. And then finally related to that is the city centre and high streets recovery renewal programme, because we have high streets like East Street in my ward, which is struggling. So I know that there is going to be further strategies announced. I was at an event last week where Steve Reed announced that there was going to be some further funding available for bringing empty shops back into use, particularly if they are made available to local businesses. So all of this is all coming together neatly and nicely.
Lovely. Thank you, Tony. So there are 2 recommendations. You can find those on page 109, and they require a vote. So again, we can take those on block. Do I have a proposer?
Happy to propose.
Lovely. Seconder? Thanks, Ian. All those in favour, please show. Okay, that is also carried. So moving on to item 11, this is the forward plan of our regional strategic work. That's on pages 133 to 140. So committee members will remember that this forward plan is a regular fixture now at this meeting, which is designed to give early sight of our work and strategic priorities over the coming months. We're conscious that we have a lot going on and a lot to do. So this is designed to hold all of that together. It does highlight the amount of work that we're doing at the moment, and there are 2 strategies coming to today's meeting, and there are more being developed. The paper also notes that we are continuing our work on the Spatial Development Strategy, or SDS, and of course the transport strategy, as Jerome mentioned, with our bus plan and sector plans to be delivered by the end of this year. The paper is just for noting, but as ever, I will open the floor to fellow leaders to provide a comment if they would like. Ian, start with you.
Yeah, thank you, Helen. Obviously, we'll be supporting this. We do note, though, that the bus plan, which is due to be brought to the next committee meeting in October, is due. If we can ask, it makes inclusivity and accessibility a key objective in that work, recognising that public transport needs to work for everyone, and it will need to set out how we will deliver a more accessible, equitable and reliable network. So if that work could be included when we discuss that in October, please.
Lovely. Thanks, Ian. Kevin?
No comment.
Tony?
I'll pass this time.
You're resisting. Mike? Lovely. Okay, 1 recommendation for this paper, which is on page 133. It's just for noting, so no voting is required. Are you happy to note? Lovely. Okay, item 12, which is the West of England Investment Plan, pages 141 to 376. So a huge bulk of today's papers. This paper sets out our 2026 investment plan, which will help deliver the ambitions that are outlined in our growth strategy to improve the lives of residents through growth that benefits all of us. To best prepare for established status, the programmes in the investment plan are aligned to the 6 themes used in the government's integrated settlement. And this is really to get us used to this kind of language. So those 6 themes are adult skills and employment, economic development and regeneration, environment and climate change, health, wellbeing and public service reform, housing and strategic planning, and transport and local infrastructure. The investment plan is included as an appendix, Appendix 1 in this paper, which gives more detail about the breadth of the programmes that support our work in each of these areas. Before we do vote on this, I will open the floor again, and I will start with, am I starting with Kevin this time?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, just a few words. Thank you, Mayor. Welcome. This is a huge amount of work. You've already said this is a massive paper. And I welcome the long-term investment framework, which it covers. We're obviously moving towards an integrated settlement, and this is part of it. I think everybody will be aware that's here that deeper devolution is what's on the cards. So this helps us with that. It's obviously going to evolve over time. It's such a complicated piece of work. And we need to keep a close eye on it. That's why I think the audit and scrutiny boards will be monitoring it. But I welcome it overall, and it's a key document, and it's a great success to yourself and the officers. Well done.
Thank you, Kevin. Tony?
Yeah, I think this is the first time we've collectively produced an investment plan like this, and I think it is important. Investment is going to happen to this region. We are a thriving area, and we are putting that message out to more people. So it's important we have investment plans. So when people do want to come and look at investing in the West of England, that we're able to direct them in the right direction, and also make sure that they are aware that we have expectations from them as what they are expecting to get from us as well. So I think it's a very mature way of progressing. As you mentioned, it's the way we have to start working as we progress further as a combined authority. We want to be on that top table. We want to bring the jobs the opportunities for our residents, and by having an investment plan, we can ensure that it's directed in the right way.
Brilliant. Thank you, Tony. Mike.
Yeah, thank you. And this obviously sits alongside the growth strategy, doesn't it? And is a good partner to that. And I agree with what colleagues have said about we're on a journey, aren't we, in terms of this as our first attempt. And I think it's a good start. I think the two questions or concerns I've got is, firstly, how will we go about prioritising? Because there is a lot in here, isn't there? You know, we've literally got hundreds of pages of ambitions, and I think we need to be clear with our communities about how we'll go about prioritising against some of those things. And then secondly, just to make sure that we don't fall into the trap, which I think we definitely do in the unitary authorities, of chasing the funding that's available and not always framing it as actually what do we want to do, whether there happens to be a perfect funding stream or not. And so I think there's also a piece of work for us about how do we also articulate that wider ambition where we need extra funding stream or not, ready-made for us or not.
Thank you. Ian.
Thank you. Just to second so much of what has been said already, and just explaining what matters for South Gloucestershire is that this genuinely reflects the needs of our places and communities, particularly around building prosperity for all, transport connectivity skills, and supporting our own key economic sectors. We recognise it's an iterative document, and that's absolutely fine. It does mean that we need to develop that clarity on what happens next. We're moving from that strategy to the pipeline now of delivery, and that's natural. So it's going to be really important that MCA and UA officers work collaboratively to identify the next steps, to define the programmes that move first and translate that pipeline now into actual funding decisions and real delivery on the ground. So if we get that right, this becomes a really powerful tool for delivering the real change that we're all after on the ground. So we make sure this becomes a real delivery plan and no longer just that direction of travel that we've had in the past.
Brilliant, thank you. And I'll just add to that, I think as we move towards integrated settlement, that's what real devolution is about. It's being able to make those decisions and not have to chase and deliver against government restricted ring fence funding, and actually start to make our own investment decisions. And I think fiscal devolution that's coming will also enable us to do that in a way that will be new and exciting. So there are two recommendations. They're found on page 141. It does require a vote. We can do those en bloc. Do I have a proposer? Thank you, Chair. Kevin. Do we have a seconder?
Happy to say.
Lovely. Okay. All those in favour, please show. Super. That is carried. Okay. We are. Okay, item 13, which is our skills strategy. So that can be found on pages 377 to 456. So this is a paper that I have been really looking forward to bringing to committee. It links strongly with our growth strategy and will enable the growth that we want to see across the West to reach all of our residents, including access to our core growth sectors. Whilst we have the highest productivity outside of London, we also have some of the lowest levels of social mobility in the country, meaning that opportunity is out of reach for far too many people in the west of England. Our skills strategy is a regional solution to a problem that is felt on a national scale, and that's been highlighted by the government through the Milburn Review into the causes of young people not being in education, employment or training, or NEET. Every young person has the talent to contribute, and every young person should have an opportunity to learn or earn and find their place in our part of the world. And that's why I am determined for the West of England, as the fastest growing regional economy, to also become the country's first NEET zero region. The Westback, which is our new work readiness qualification, will help young people engage with the world of work sooner. I'm really pleased that both Alan Milburn and Peter Hyman have endorsed our skills strategy in the past couple of days, and it does reflect the key transition points in a person's life where we can best target support as a combined authority. So we've split it into supporting young people, breaking down barriers to work for adults, and also providing lifelong learning in an ever-changing and complex world. The West of England must be somewhere that everyone can build a good life for themselves and for their family. And that's why I'm committed to building a system that allows each and every one of us to thrive. So I will open the floor to fellow leaders on this one. Tony.
Thank you. And I think just to say this is something that in particular is very close for me, partly because of my background and where I grew up. I don't particularly like the term NEET, although I understand why it's used. I think the reality, this is young people who are being failed by the system. And what we need to do is fix that system so that all our young people, and not just our young people, but there are people who have been failed by the system at different age groups as well, which is why I think that topic you made about lifelong learning is so important. I think the other thing about this is about ambition. Some of the things that we've started to do, one of the things we have to do is rebuild the breadth of ambition for some of our young people, because so many of them have been told that they're supposed to go into one particular button or one particular door, and it's not their choice about what they do. And I think if we can get a system, we build a system so that no matter where you grow up, whether you grow up in Clifton or whether you grow up in Artcliffe, whether you grow up in Yates or whether you grow up in Portishead, where you grow up should not determine the circumstances of your life going forward and the opportunities you get to. And if we can get to where we have 0 kids stuck in that situation, but also 0 adults stuck in that situation, then we'll make a massive difference to people's lives and their futures.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Tony. I couldn't agree more. Mike.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I think it is another good document. So we've got plenty of good documents today. I guess the challenge is about how we make sure that we can deliver against it. We've set out the vision. What perhaps it is not so defined on is how we will have operational delivery against that. And that's where we need to do further work. And I think particularly on the point that we've heard so much national debate about this week around young people, the critical need to start earlier and to make sure that those key transition points, so from early years into primary school, primary into secondary, and then secondary and what comes next. We know that the system at the moment is failing far too many people. So what I would also encourage is that we build upon this skill strategy to make sure that we really do put a relentless focus on those that have faced those greatest barriers in terms of accessing the benefits of living in the West of England. And I do think that's one area where the strategy, again, needs a bit more work as we move forward into implementation. And that is those that have got the most complex barriers. We've got some communities in Weston-super-Mare, and I know colleagues have in other parts of the region where there's real entrenched disadvantage, economic disadvantage, poor housing, disabilities, English as a second language, that they don't have simple problems, and they certainly aren't going to have simple solutions. And I think we do have to think about how we do more to really target those who, let's be honest, drive most of the costs and most of the challenges in our society, and how we can help those people to make the most of their lives and to access the benefits of the skills that we're hopefully going to deliver through this strategy.
Thank you, Mike. Ian.
Thank you. As Mike in North Somerset was saying, we see the challenge again is going to be delivery. We know that the barriers are real, and those barriers can be transport or childcare, health, or just confidence to access this. And the system needs to work around people and not expect people to navigate fragmented services. We also need to ensure strong alignment with employers, particularly in our growth sectors, so that skills provision genuinely reflects where jobs are now and where they're going in the future. And I'm particularly supportive of the ambition that we become the first UK region to reach NEET to 0. But if we're serious about eliminating NEETs, we need to start much earlier, identify those pre-NEETs, and that needs strong engagement with all our partners, particularly with our schools and our multi-academy trusts, to develop clearer pathways into work and design a system that wraps around young people before they fall through those gaps. So school engagement is something that we discussed at the last Economy and Skills Advisory Board, and is something that the board will be looking to explore further. So I strongly support this strategy. However, the test will be in how joined up and place-based the delivery is, and whether we can translate this now into the real outcomes with fewer people out of work, fewer young people falling through the gaps, and more residents progressing in good quality jobs. So if we get that right, we can become a genuinely transformative strategy for the region. So thank you again for this work, and look forward to seeing this developing.
Thank you, Ian. Kevin.
Thank you, Matt. I'm going to be quite upbeat, actually. I think this is an exception. Yeah, I think this is a really, really good paper. This is one of the tests for our time, and we've had some great information come out nationally on NEETs. It's about everybody working together: councils, employees, colleges, the NHS, the DWP, the third sector, and this just shows our ambition in the region. I would like to support what Ian has said. I really believe that early intervention is crucial, and if we can get that right in the southwest, I think we can really get to that target that you've emphasised. And if those of you who've read the paper, one thing that was particularly moving, there was an individual called Ethan in his story. He's a young lad from North East Somerset, and now he's doing a degree apprenticeship in cyber security, and that's a tangible difference to a human being that we've been able to help, and hopefully we can help thousands more of those individuals because of the hard work that's set here. Politicians often get a bad rap, but I think this is a prime example of us really wanting to make a difference to real tangible people, and I can't commend this paper anymore. So well done.
Thank you very much. And just to add to that, I think sometimes with the previous strategy paper, we talk about the volume of work and how there's a lot going on and trying to keep up with it. But for me, I'm very conscious that we have a finite period of time to get a lot done. And so the intention with getting strategies through at this sort of pace is that we can start delivering against them. I don't want to finish my time as mayor by saying, well, I wrote a load of strategies. I want to achieve what we've set out to achieve via those strategies. So I appreciate there's a lot of churn and there's a lot of ask on officers across all of the UAs to really push this work through. But now, as of today, we can then focus on delivery for this work. So, and the role of the business board and our employers more broadly, and as you say so eloquently, the schools and our multi-academy trust is so important now that we go out back into communities and we tell our young people and our adults that are maybe facing that we've got some ideas and some solutions. So thank you very much for those comments. That's really heartening. So there's just one recommendation for this paper, which is on page 377. A vote is required. Do I have a proposer?
Yeah.
Second. Yeah.
Super. Okay, all those in favour, please show. Okay, so that is carried. Thank you very much. So we'll just take one more item and then we'll take a short break, I think, if that's okay with everyone. So this is another big paper. This is item 14, which is the established mayoral strategic authority status. You can find this on pages 457 to 470. This paper outlines our proposal to make a formal application for established mayoral strategic authority status, quite a mouthful, which would be a huge step forward for this combined authority. And I think this is genuinely a very important moment. Following the Devolution Act receiving royal assent last month, we have already unlocked a range of new powers. Achieving established status will allow us to access the highest level of devolution and would mark an unprecedented further shift of power to the West Country from Whitehall. This status benefits the combined authorities, allowing mayors to use more levers to make change happen faster. The most significant advantages are highlighted in the paper, but some of them include an integrated settlement, as we've already touched on, which would give a more flexible, certain and simplified funding landscape. It would mean funding through direct allocations rather than going through a bidding process, which I think we can all agree would benefit all of us. And it would also give us access to the full range of devolution framework powers, which we expect will continue to evolve. And also the right to request, which enables mayors to formally ask for new powers. Just yesterday, I was at the Mayoral Council in York with the Prime Minister and the Chancellor of the Exchequer and other mayors, and they have made the most of devolution before now. So yesterday it was announced that they had secured amongst them extra powers from the government around youth justice, public services, culture, flooding and SEND. So we're catching up, and I'm delighted that it will no longer be sort of seen as a left behind combined authority. So subject to approval today, the next steps are for us to submit our application for established status to ministers. We're ready now, I think, to seize this opportunity and drive long-lasting change for everyone in the region and hopefully the wider region. So before we vote, I will open the floor to my fellow leaders, and I'll start with Mike this time.
Thank you. Obviously, as an aspiring entrant, this is a good conversation, and I think it is exciting. And for the reasons that you set out, Helen, you know, we all know that moving to the enhanced status is the right thing for us to be doing. The sooner we can do that, the better, and access all the full range of devolution powers that are made available by government. And I think it's important to recognise this is not new, is it? You know, this is a direction of travel that has been happening for some time under successive governments. And so, you know, frankly, as a region, we've got to get with the programme and make the most of it, haven't we? The two things I would just observe is the first, I think it's really important as we move into established strategic status that we make sure that we bring our communities and our businesses with us and they understand what that means, and both the benefits and in some cases some of the disadvantages, and that we are also just transparent and clear with the unitary authorities and particularly I think of my councillors in North Somerset who will want to know, what does it mean for us, what does it mean for our ability to influence things, who's going to make the decisions. And I think we just need to be open and transparent about that so that we bring people with us on the journey.
Brilliant, thank you. Ian.
Thank you. Yeah, the proposal is clearly a significant opportunity for the West of England, and the prize here is that greater flexibility, particularly around long-term investment, skills, transport and housing, so we can better align our decisions with local priorities and accelerate that delivery that we're all eager to do. We recognise that with that opportunity does come some responsibility, quite some responsibility. We need to be confident that the move to establish status strengthens governance, not just scale. It ensures that all of us as constituent councils retain our strong voice and that decision making remains genuinely collaborative and transparent as it has been here. We also need to ensure that the additional powers translate into those real outcomes that you've touched upon, with better connectivity, more homes in the right places, stronger local economies, and improved opportunities for our residents. So pleased to support this ambition and the direction of travel with that focus now on how this works in practice, how those powers are exercised, how funding is deployed, and how we ensure the benefits are felt across all of the region, including, of course, South Gloucestershire.
Brilliant, thank you. Kevin.
Yeah, very quickly, Mayor, congratulations on fast-tracking this. It's a great achievement, well done. One key thing I think we need to stress from out of this is that is the flexibility point. Most people do not have a clue how pots of money from central government have been ring-fenced and you can only do this with it. People get really frustrated. Why aren't you doing that? Why are you spending millions over here? What I would stress is this gives us that flexibility to be able to deliver real priorities for local people, and we just need to make sure we do that.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you. And last but not least, Tony.
Thank you. I think what I say is that in the past, and I don't just mean the recent past, is often felt like the conversation was always about, I don't want to upset my colleagues elsewhere, but always need to be either London or the North or London. And I think sometimes it felt like our region was being overlooked in Westminster. I think I said at the beginning, we need to be on the top table. We need to be in that position where we get in the integrated settlement, where we can unlock more funding to come to our regions, to our region. And I think members of the public may not necessarily always agree entirely with how we spend our funding, either for the combined authority or for the unitary authority. But with those spending decisions being brought closer to the people who are affected by them, at least people will have the opportunity to come into places like this and make those feelings known it's a bit hard to go all the way up to the Houses of Parliament to make your feelings known in the same way. So I think this is a much needed and much worked on way forward, and I look forward to us getting to that established mayoral strategic authority status, and maybe we should put up a naming thing for that as well.
I really don't think we should. That would be terrifying. Okay, thank you, Tony. There's one recommendation for this, that's on page 457. We do require a vote on this item. Do I have a proposer? Thank you. And seconder?
Yep.
Okay, all those in favour, please show. Okay, so that is carried, which means that email can go off. Excellent. Okay, so I'm going to just take this opportunity to offer a 5-minute comfort break. So it's 2:45 now. So if we come back at 10 to 3, if that's all right with everyone. Thank you.
Christina.
Thank you. Okay, so we're starting again now. Item 15, which is a really key paper for us, expansion of the West of England Combined Authority. Might even be a historic paper. I think we can call it historic. So you may remember that Mike and I went for chips in Weston quite recently, where we launched a public consultation which gathered the views of residents and businesses regarding the expansion of the Combined Authority. I'm pleased to say a clear majority backed the proposal to expand the Combined Authority. People agreed with us that working across a wider Combined Authority area will support economic growth, and North Somerset Council have voted to support moving forward with these plans. Residents and councillors recognise that being a part of this Combined Authority means being a part of something that goes beyond council boundaries. I know that people will want to know more about what joining the Combined Authority will mean in practice for North Somerset. Mike will become a full member of the Combined Authority Committee, and the insights we have gained from the consultation will also be used to inform how we communicate and work with residents, both across the region and in North Somerset specifically. Following this committee's approval, Mike and I will submit the formal expansion proposal for the Secretary of State to review, along with the consultation report. Legislation drafting and approval would then follow. After this process, government has indicated that North Somerset could join by the end of this year, which would complete our devolution jigsaw after 9 years. So before we vote, I would like to open the floor to my fellow leaders. And of course, I will start with Mike for this one.
No comment. Yeah. Are you sure this is a good idea? No.
Mike, no.
It is good. It's really good, and I agree with you that it is a significant and historic moment, and not just for the West of England, of course, but actually, you know, we are demonstrating that combined authorities that have been established can, in the future, be expanded into new areas through cooperation and consensus, both politically across different political parties, different authorities, and of course with the support of our businesses and our residents. North Somerset made a mistake, I think, a decade ago in not being part of the combined authority, and I'm delighted that we're now in the right position to put that right. I'd like to thank all three unitary authorities for their strong support all the way through this process. It has not been a completely smooth journey over the years, and I think sometimes political differences probably have got in the way a little bit, but I absolutely applaud my colleagues for their continued support in recent years, and Helen in particular. All I can say is that you promised us that you would help to make this happen, and you've kept your promise, and nobody can ask for any more than that. We really look forward to getting this over the line as quickly as possible with the support of the government, and taking our rightful place as full members of the combined authority. And I am absolutely confident that it will make a positive difference for people living and working and studying in North Somerset, but also for everyone else across the west of England, because we really are stronger together, working together. We can secure more investment and more government funding, and we can grow our region in the way that we've talked about in this meeting. And then finally, I would just say it will be nice to come to these meetings and not only be here for the fruit pastels, but also to make sure that the voice of North Somerset is heard as equal partners in the combined authority.
Couldn't agree more, Mike. Thank you. Ian.
Thank you. This is important and long overdue. For many of us, North Somerset being part of our family is already our reality, you know, whether it is that on the infrastructure when it comes to the economies and labour markets and transport networks, but also personally, you know, I may be Gloucestershire born and bred, South Gloucestershire in particular, but you know that North Somerset is part of my family, my partner, my parents still live there. And that's not an unusual reality for people in this area. So bringing North Somerset into WECA strengthens that collective voice. It recognises that reality. It creates a more coherent geography for investment, importantly. It helps us to deliver joined up solutions on growth, housing, and our transport network. So for South Gloss. A fully aligned WECA means better coordination. It means stronger outcomes for residents and businesses across the whole of the west of England. So having that bigger, more coherent partnership is a more effective one. And thank you to Helen and colleagues for the work on doing this.
Thank you, Ian. Kevin.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, and I'd like to welcome another part of Somerset to the committee. Always welcome. Baines voted recently to fully support this idea. It's long overdue, as Mike has said. We live in a world where hatred and division is quite common at the moment. There's a lot of vile rhetoric that goes around. I think this is an example of us at collaborative work together, coming together, giving a vision of hope over hate for the west of England is exactly what this is all about. So fully welcome North Somerset, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Kevin. Tony.
Thank you. And yeah, I mean, I agree with what's been said before about this being long overdue. I mean, where I live, it's a 10-minute walk, and I'm in North Somerset, and it always seemed a bit daft that meant I was leaving the West of England Combined Authority. It's also very good to see another largely Worcester City supporting part of the country during the Combined Authority. But more seriously, I mean, if you look at the links between North Somerset and the West of England, it's an integral part of our economic area. It's integral to part of our travel to work area. It makes sense for North Somerset to be in the West of England Combined Authority, and it now means that the sum of our parts is even stronger.
Brilliant, thanks, Tony. And yeah, I think that family point is key, because this does bring in my it gives me a few extra votes because my sister's in North Somerset, so I'm thrilled about that. Don't know if it'll be enough.
That's not what you told me.
Brilliant. Okay, well, look, I'm really glad that we've taken that paper in the spirit that we should, which is with real joy and enthusiasm for this, because I think this is a really significant moment. So we've got two recommendations on page 471. Of course, there is a vote required on this item. We can take these en bloc. Do I have a proposer?
Happy to propose.
Lovely. Seconder?
Yes. Super.
Okay, all those in favour? Wonderful. So that is carried. That's a real moment. Thank you, Mike. Super. Okay, thank you. Let's move on to item number 16, which is Brabazon and the West Innovation Arc Newtown. More excitement. This is on pages 547 to 556. Just goes on. We have genuinely another significant paper here, which provides an update on the government's New Towns programme and progress on the Brabazon and West Innovation Arc, which is a cornerstone of our regional growth story and a growth engine, also importantly, as Ian has already spoken about today, for our national economy. We are doing all we can to secure the New Towns designation and to unlock the funding to ensure that existing communities can benefit from growth through better transport links, good jobs, and the infrastructure that meets local needs. But we know that we do need to move quicker to deliver in the short term and make the most of devolution as it continues to develop. So at UK Reef, I announced our intention to establish Brabazon and the West Innovation Arc as our first mayoral development zone, an interim non-statutory designation. This step has been endorsed not only by the Housing Secretary, but the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves. People at the top of government do now recognise that the West has missed out for too long and are supporting our concentrated effort to secure what we deserve and bring real change to residents' lives. It will provide a mechanism for clear strategic leadership and coordination so that key partners across councils, Homes England and the private sector can align across a shared vision for delivery. The mayoral development zone would not provide any additional powers or replace the work being done by local authorities, but complement their existing powers. To fully prepare for the scale of work needed for a new town with the potential for 40,000 new homes, the report also notes that the New Towns Task Force have recommended that all new towns are driven by robust delivery vehicles. This would allow us to fully unlock the delivery of housing and economic growth through providing a guiding vision and direction, levers for inward investment, and enhancing delivery capabilities. Following external advice, the combined authority believes that a mayoral development corporation is the best placed vehicle for a project of this scale in the longer term, which would only be developed after extensive local and political engagement. So as we take this chance to fully realise the transformative potential of Brabazon and the West Innovation Arc, I look forward to continuing to work closely with my fellow leaders and local councils. And obviously this time, I'm going to start with Ian for comments.
Thank you, Helen. It's impossible really to understate what a significant opportunity this is for particularly South Gloucestershire, with Brabazon and the West Innovation Arc at the heart of this growth geography. Being part of the National New Towns programme gives us a real opportunity to unlock housing, jobs and infrastructure at an unprecedented scale for us, but only if we move at pace and with clarity. So we're delighted to support the direction of travel, including that potential move to a mayoral development zone and the creation of a joint delivery team to drive this forward. However, there are 2 points we want to just be clear on. Firstly, the transport infrastructure growth at this scale simply won't work without upfront committed investment in that connectivity, particularly public and sustainable transport. We need confidence that national and regional funding will come forward early and not follow that development. We need to be on that curve rather than behind the curve. Secondly, governance. As we move towards more formal arrangements, including direction of travel towards that possible mayoral development corporation in the future, it's essential that South Gloss Council retains a strong formal role in decision making. So any future proposals to change local accountability must be evidence led, subject to significant local engagement and that consultation that you've touched upon there, Helen, before being reported back to committee for decision. So we proudly support the ambition, but the test will be that delivery, as we've touched upon before, securing that designation, importantly, locking in that infrastructure funding and putting in place governance that works for all our partners, because if we get this right, this will be a nationally significant example of sustainable growth done properly.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you, Ian. Kevin.
Yeah, second Ian's point, the sustainability point is key. We need to be far ahead of the curve on this one. There'd be nothing worse than creating 40,000 houses that are all car dependent. That would be a disaster for our region. We need it to be connected to where people work, where people go to school, and we need to make sure that's in place first before we start building the houses. Yeah, but fully support it. Thank you.
Super, thank you. Tony.
Thank you. And no, on our sustainable point, I think we should recognise that the Brabazon station is going to be opening this year, and soon that'll be followed by the Hembury station and the extension of the Brabazon station to be able to also serve the arena, which is along with some other parts of Bristol within the mayoral development zone that's being looked at. So with Northern Bristol being included, or parts of Northern Bristol being included, it's welcome that we are a member of the joint delivery team. I think it's important to recognise that this is a long-term process, and that there is going to be significant engagement over that time, both with residents, with local councillors, and the local authorities themselves, before any statutory decision is made. And the final boundary of any potential development corporation will come out of that consultation. But the reality is, our region is a rapidly growing region, and identifying homes in this part of the region we're able to meet what is a significant housing need for ourselves.
Thank you, Mike. Okay. So yeah, just to echo that point about the transport, I think that we've been really clear with government that transport is what unlocks this these homes, and it's certainly not going to be a homes first and then transport. So Brabazon Station will be open by the end of this year, and we're also actively exploring mass transit as well and thinking about Brabazon and the West Innovation Arc for that. And just before we go to recommendations, I just want to put on record my thanks as well to South Gloucestershire, both politicians, councillors, but also officers, in terms of how we've been working together on this, because these are sticky things, aren't they? They're not easy things sometimes, but it's been really constructive, and I'm very grateful for that. Okay, so we've got 5 recommendations. They are on page 547. They all require a vote. We can take these on block. I was going to say, can we not take these on block? Do I have a proposer? I'm hoping it's Ian. Seconder?
I'm happy to second.
Delighted. Wonderful. Okay, so all those in favour, please show. Super. That is carried. Thank you, Bob. Okay, so we will move straight on to item 17, which is the Brownfield Housing Fund. So this paper is another big step forward for us in terms of the delivery of homes across the west of England, and something that, like in other regions, the Combined Authority does need to and will play a bigger role in. I was really very pleased to secure this grant of just over £45 million from MHCLG. The funding from the Brownfield Housing Fund will support the accelerated delivery of around 1,500 homes on stalled brownfield sites across our region. By focusing on brownfield sites where housing schemes have stalled, we can unlock their full potential and get building, so we can take action on our region's housing crisis. We know that for renters and homeowners in the west of England, housing costs can make the cost of living increasingly difficult to manage, and too many of our residents, as we all know, are in insecure housing. The paper notes that we've secured this Brownfield Housing Fund allocation through working in partnership with Homes England in the West of England Strategic Place Partnership, which we signed last year at Reef, so just over a year ago. Through this work, we have identified a number of stalled sites across the region, and which has given us the information needed to drive development where it's needed most. This includes sites across all 4 of our council areas. To make sure that as many people as possible can benefit from these developments, we'll also be targeting funding to unlock the delivery of additional affordable homes. So before we vote, I'll open the floor to leaders. I'll start with you, Kevin, on this one, if I may.
Yeah. Now, more than welcome. Another great paper, fantastic, £45 million. Opens up sites like Midland Road, the old gasworks in Bath. Anything that streamlines brownfield sites is extremely welcome. And crucially, I would add, we need to make sure those brownfield sites really deliver truly affordable homes as well. And I think that, and the more we do that, the more money we'll be able to draw down. Sorry. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Tony.
Yeah, I mean, 80 to 90% of the houses that we're delivering in Bristol is on brownfield land. And obviously, there are additional viability issues often with building on brownfield. And we very much want to ensure that we can continue to bring forward affordable housing. And this settlement, this funding, will give us the opportunity to do that. We are, as you mentioned before, there are sites right across the region in each of the local authorities that are being looked at, including in Bristol, and we've been having conversations already to start to look at how potentially we might be able to allocate this funding, and it's been very well received. So really positive to see it coming through, and well done for advocating for our region to get this money, because this is the first time we've actually got any funding of this type.
Brilliant. Thank you, Tony. Mike?
Yeah, I mean, likewise, very much welcome this additional funding. I think there's 2 extra things that we absolutely need to keep making the case to government about. The first one is the maximum possible flexibility, because certainly what we found with a brownfield release funding in the past is that sometimes, as ever, government strings don't necessarily help us to unlock the most sticky sites. So the more flexibility we can have locally, the better. And secondly, it would be really good to see this expanded to have funding for stalled commercial development sites as well, because I think there is more growth that we can unlock, more jobs that we can unlock, if we could have some additional investment from government that would help us to target commercial sites too, where we've all got some sites which are particularly difficult to move forward in a commercial sense as well.
Brilliant. Thank you. And finally, Ian.
Thank you, Helen. Yeah, I'm happy again to support this recommendation that will unlock sites and deliver much needed homes across the region. I know that we will all share the view that this cannot just become a subsidy that simply inflates developer margins. So every pound will need to be tied to real outcomes, affordable homes, viability gaps that are genuinely closed, and delivery on the ground. So this will mean robust governance for us, transparent decision making, and clear accountability on who benefits and why. So I'm looking forward to seeing the governance proposals coming through the Strategic Place Partnership in due course. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to add to that, just for reassurance, though, we are governed by legislation around subsidy and state aid and things like that that will help us to make sure that we've got those checks and balances, and we'll do that through our governance as well. Okay, so there are two recommendations. They're on page 557. They do require a vote. We can take them on block. Do I have a proposer? Thank you, Tony. Seconder?
Yep.
Thank you. All those in favour? Okay, that is carried. So almost there, chaps. Item 18, this is Hicksgate Master Plan. So this next paper is really to provide an update on the master planning work for Hicksgate in the central Bristol and Bath growth zone. This growth zone is genuinely a very key part of the West of England's growth strategy because it links our urban centres in a way that brings innovation and advanced technologies and manufacturing, arts and heritage, and the digital and creative technologies. Hicksgate sits at the junction of three of our soon to be four local authorities and two public transport corridors. Our ambition for the Bath to Bristol strategic corridor is outlined in our transport vision, which is to create a nature positive connection that opens up sustainable transport options for residents to travel across the entire region. We can protect potential mass transit and other orbital public transport options for the future, including east-west, supporting strategic growth around the region. To fully realise the strategic potential of Hicksgate by unlocking coordinated high-quality housing delivery with significant infrastructure delivery, we have led work at pace to deliver a shared master plan to help manage speculative development. This is alongside continued work on our spatial development strategy and ahead of further engagement on that priority strategy. At their request, today's paper provides the evidence base to support Bristol and Baines councils in their determination of applications for land parcels in this area and in the production of their local plans, which are the foundations for the STS. By focusing on a joined-up approach rather than individual developments, we can coordinate access to key infrastructure for residents, including nature and green space, core services, homes, and of course transport links. This master plan is therefore key to continuing to work with local councils across boundaries to translate strategic goals into change that residents can see and feel. So before we vote, I'll open the floor. I'll start with you, Kevin, and then I'll go to Tony and then invite Ian and Mike.
Thank you, Helen. This is really something to show people who don't appreciate combined authority work. This is an excellent example of why you need a combined authority. It crosses 3 areas, and only by working together can we truly draw down the huge sums of money that are needed to create the transport connectivity. Our residents, as has been said many times in these committees, they don't see these invisible lines between Bristol and Baines and South Gloucestershire and Somerset. And if we can work together, and this is a prime example of doing that, we can improve connectivity, particularly enhance the mass transit idea. This is the great location for it, and I fully support it. And it will definitely help boost the local economy.
Great stuff. Thank you. Tony.
Yeah, thank you. From a Bristol perspective, we've had significant public consultation on our local plan, and that evidence is informed and will continue to inform our approach to determine planning decisions around the Hicksgate Master Plan. I mean, the importance of nature, biodiversity, housing affordability and transport infrastructure comes strongly through on the Hicksgate Master Plan. I said earlier that 80% or more of our development is on brownfield site. This is one of the few areas where there is some greenfield areas, but there is also brownfield as well in there, and getting the balance right so that we deliver what's needed and at the same time preserve what is also important. I think by working together with the combined authority and with our partners in Baines and South Gloucestershire, I think we're bringing forward something that will achieve those outcomes.
Yes, Ian.
Thank you. We support, obviously, the principle of this as a joint cross-boundary master plan and endorsing it as that non-statutory framework. It feels like a sensible step to guide future planning policy. From a South Gloss perspective, there are two critical issues we're looking forward to addressing here. Firstly, transport. It's obviously been mentioned how Hicksgate isn't going to be just another development site. It is a key and unique regional interchange linking east and west and north and south movements, including connections to the West Innovation Arc that we've been talking about already this afternoon. So we need to see much stronger alignment with that transport vision and clear safeguarding of that high quality mass transit hub as well from the outset. And then secondly, as far as governance and strategic alignment is concerned, given the cross-boundary nature of this site, it's essential that decision making remains genuinely joint and fully aligned with our local plans, including South Gloss emerging local plan that's currently at examination in public. So we're at a very important stage there, and this needs to complement it. So more broadly, we need confidence that this master plan is properly integrated with the region's wider growth framework and not developed in isolation. So the priority now for us is strengthening that strategic context, locking in that transport infrastructure that is so important to all of us, and ensuring the governance arrangements reflect the shared ownership of this opportunity. Because if we get that right, Hicksgate can become a genuine, sustainable, well-connected new community that works for the whole region.
Great, thank you. Mike, would you like to add anything? Okay, so one recommendation for this item, which is on page 565, requires a vote. Do I have a proposer? Lovely. Seconder?
Happy to second.
Thank you very much. All those in favour, please show. Carried. Okay, so now we move on to corporate risk framework. Pages 607 to 650. Solange's favourite. This paper establishes our approach to risk management and how we identify, assess and manage any risks that could negatively impact our ability to deliver on our strategic objectives. So it is obviously a very important one. We won't go into detail, but before we vote, I will open it up. Mike? Tony?
I'm okay.
Rizit?
Sorry, Solange.
Sure, it's lovely.
Off the hook, Solange.
Lovely. Okay, one recommendation, that's on page 607, requires a vote. Do I have a proposer? Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
Yes.
Thank you. God, that all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much. Okay, now we move on to item 20, which is, sorry, looked at the wrong person then, Audit Committee Annual Report 2025-26. That's on pages 657 to 676. This report summarises the work that has been done by our Audit Committee over the previous year. Thank you to all committee members for your work over the year. It outlines a lot of the Audit Committee's recent work, which has reviewed many of our organisational policies and strategies that are key to how we function as a combined authority. And I appreciate we are in very much changing times as well. So I know the workload is immense. The report also notes that the Audit Committee's work plan for the next financial year will closely review several key areas, including our treasury management arrangements and risk management reviews. I don't think we did ourselves any favour by our non-engagement with that paper. So David will be noting that, I'm sure. David, would you like to comment before I ask leaders to comment?
I'd like to take the opportunity to thank the members of the committee and the officers who present the reports. I think it's very useful. And yes, we do look at the risk report massively in depth with the help of Solange and the officers. And we often ask interesting questions that actually enhance the way the risk is actually dealt with within the combined authority. So I think it's really useful. I'm not going to go into all the detail of the report because it's all written down there and you can take it as read, please.
Thank you very much. Thanks, David, for all your work as well. Would anyone like to comment? Ian? Kevin? Tony?
David said I have to take it as read, so I better do one too.
Mike? Lovely. Okay. Let me just check where we are on this one. Sorry, got ahead of myself. One recommendation. That's on page 657. It's for noting. Is the committee happy to note this report? Lovely. That is noted. So, Jerome, item 21, overview and scrutiny committee annual report. This report provides an annual update of the work that has been undertaken by the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. And again, like to extend my thanks to you as chair and to all the committee members for your work over the last year. And again, acknowledge there has been a huge amount of work coming through, and you've stayed very close to that, and I appreciate that. The report notes that much of the work of this committee has been done in the context of change, as we've already covered. Big changes coming to the Combined Authority through expanding into North Somerset, pushing for established status, and also on our constitution that underpins governance. So before I ask leaders to comment, Jerome, would you like to add anything?
Yes, thank you, Helen. I mean, I think we've had good attendance at our 4 overview and scrutiny meetings, and we appreciated your attendance there for sort of Mayor's questions on each occasion. That's been really helpful. In the meetings, we've looked at the investment plan, the growth strategy, the climate and nature recovery plan, the skills strategy, child poverty action plan, and the Mayor's transport vision. And as well as kind of those routine meetings, we've also had kind of deep dive briefings into the bus grant, bus reform, constitution review, devolution bill, and the authority's budget. We've got another full in tray in the coming year, as you kind of hinted at. So the proposed expansion of the authority, an updated constitution, agreeing delivery of transport strategy, and the next stage in skills planning to support a flourishing economy. So I'd like to say thank you to the members of the Scrutiny Committee for their participation at meetings, to officers for their active engagement in the committee's work. We particularly have appreciated the earlier publication of papers for these meetings. It really helps in kind of professionalising things. I'd like also to say thank you to the members of the authority for your consideration of our reports, and to our Democratic Services Officer and Scrutiny Manager Jill Bennett for all the work that she does behind the scenes to support the work of the committee. And last but not very much not least, the local residents for their statements and questions at our meetings to get the best outcomes for everybody in the region. Thank you.
Brilliant, and thank you, Jerome, as well. Any comments?
Not for me.
Lovely. Okay, one recommendation for this one on page 677, which is for noting, are the committee happy to note? Yeah. Lovely, that's noted. Thank you. Okay, Mike, you can vote on this one. Now we're moving on to the West of England Combined Authority Joint Committee item 22, which is our Joint Committee budget outturn 2025-26. Can be found on pages 89 to 704. There might be a typo there, but yeah, 689. I'm going to say that was a very long paper. This paper represents the revenue and capital outturn for the most recent financial year. The paper notes that the revenue outturn for 2025-2026 is 12.28 million, and the delivery is 10.23 million. The paper also confirms that there are 3 schemes that have submitted change requests, which are part of the Economic Development Fund or the Revolving Infrastructure Fund. I invite colleagues to speak on this item. Ian, Kevin, Tony.
Not for me.
Mike.
It's tempting, but no.
There are 2 recommendations. The first is for noting and the second requires a vote. We can take them both on block. Do I have a proposer? Seconder?
Happy to second.
Yeah.
I hope Mike abstains. I was going to vote against.
Good test on you voting rules. Okay, all those in favour, please show. Lovely. So that is carried. So that concludes this meeting. Thank you, everyone. We will now, I think we might just crack on with the AGM. Yeah. Is everyone comfortable with that?
Yeah. I'll get my speech in.
Yeah, we did it on block.
Okay.
Don't worry, Tony. Right, so we're back now for the AGM. Item number 1 just to welcome you to the AGM, actually. And
ages.
I don't know if you've noticed, but I am still joined by my fellow leaders, Tony, Ian, Kevin and Mike. As this is a separate meeting, we now must ask if you have any declarations of interest in relation to the agenda items.
No.
Lovely. Okay, so item number 3 is the annual business report, which is pages 5 to 96. So we're in a new pack. Our first paper in the AGM is the annual business report, which outlines a number of governance decisions. This includes committee membership arrangements, the deputy mayor position, and ongoing changes being made to the combined authorities constitution. The paper notes that according to our constitution, I must appoint an authority member to be our statutory deputy mayor. As I mentioned earlier, I want to thank Kevin for his work as he hands the deputy mayor baton, Tony, for the following year.
We need a baton.
We do need a baton. It's through our continued collaboration and shared ambitions that we'll make change that residents can really see and feel. So I'm very glad to see a peaceful transfer of power from Kevin to Tony. The paper also outlines the membership arrangements for the statutory committees of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, the Audit Committee, and the Employment and Appointments Committee. The paper notes that the terms of reference for the Audit and Overview and Scrutiny Committees have been revised following discussions with members of these committees. This forms part of the work to update our constitution in order to prepare for incoming governance changes made by the Devolution Act and our ongoing efforts to make the combined authority more agile, efficient, and be able to deliver for our residents. And I'm conscious that that is an ongoing piece of work, as all of the statutory instruments that come from the Devolution Act will start to inform the constitution. Finally, the paper also outlines the membership arrangements of our advisory boards, which are each led by my fellow leaders. So the Transport Advisory Board is chaired by Kevin. Housing Planning and Regeneration Advisory Board is chaired by Tony. Economy and Skills Advisory Board is chaired by Maggie, but Ian, I think you're chairing in Maggie's absence. And Environment Advisory Board chaired by Mike. So before we vote, I will open the floor. Kevin.
No comment apart from to wish Tony all the best.
Thank you. Tony.
No comment apart from thanking Kevin for what he's done as Deputy Mayor, and hopefully I can deliver in the same way.
Thank you. Mike. Ian. Okay, 11 recommendations for this paper. They're on pages 5 and 6. We can vote on block. Do I have a proposer? Lovely. Seconder? Thank you. All those in favour, please show. Lovely. So that is carried. Thank you, Bob. Okay, item 4 is the second and final report in our AGM, which is our Joint Committee annual business report. This paper outlines the constitution of the Joint Committee's membership, and it confirms the members that will be authorised to deputise in anyone's absence. The paper also notes that the meeting timetable for the municipal year 2026-27 has been circulated, which includes the meeting dates for the Joint Committee over the next year. The paper also sets out the terms of reference for the Joint Committee as set out in the current constitution. As we move into the second year of meeting jointly, I would like to thank my fellow leaders here for their time so far, and I look forward to continuing to strengthen our partnership over the coming years. I'll open to the floor if anyone wants to come in. I'm guessing no. Okay. The paper also notes that we will need to confirm the chair and vice chair positions for this committee. We haven't discussed this in advance, but I'm hoping we know how this will be done. But do we have any nominations for chair?
I think it should be you, Helen.
Thank you, Mike. Is that seconded?
Happily second that.
Lovely. Do I have any nominations for vice chair?
I nominate Mike.
Or Tony?
Oh, no. Oh, sorry. Because it was a joint committee. I thought Mike wanted to do it. Tony, yes. We talked about it before, wasn't it? Yeah. Could you stitch that up?
You were the vice chair last year.
Happy to nominate Tony.
I'll second. Are you right with that, Mike?
Yeah. He's got out of that one, didn't he?
Okay. That was so seamless. There are 3 recommendations on page 97, which we can take on block. Bob, have we done anything wrong? No. You sure? I get nervous when there's muttering in that on that side of the room. Okay. Okay, all those in favour?
Yes.
That is carried. Are you happy, Bob? Great. Okay. Right. So once again, that concludes today's business. Thank you so much for staying. And if there is anyone watching at home, thank you very much as well. So the next meeting, third and final meeting of the day, is the employment and appointments meeting. Now, parts of this are taken in private session. So we will do the first part of the meeting here in public, but then we will move into private session. So I don't want anyone to be alarmed when we all get up and disappear, but that will happen imminently. So thank you again for those that are still here. This meeting will be held partly in public session, as I said. The public part of the meeting will also be streamed on the authority's YouTube channel. I'm not going to tell you who's here again, because I think everybody still knows who's here, unless I have to. Bob? No? Okay. I do have to ask if we've got any additional declarations of interest. Great. Okay, so item 3, HR policy and contractual changes. These can be found on pages 3 to 48. This report seeks approval for a number of contractual and policy changes intended to mitigate the associated legal, financial and operational risks to the MCA. The report also asks the Employment and Appointments Committee to note a number of wider policy updates. Officers will be doing some more work on the amendments to the disciplinary policy, so we will not be voting on that item today. Does anyone wish to speak on these points? And this is Tony, Kevin, Ian. No? Okay, there are a number of recommendations on page 4. So with the exception of the disciplinary policy approval, if people are happy to do so, we can take these en bloc. Do I have a proposer? Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Yeah. Okay, all those in favour? Okay, that is carried. So now I'm going to move to item 4, which is the exclusion of the press and the public. The meeting will now move to a closed session and the stream will end. Thank you so much to all of you that attended and have stayed today. Please enjoy the rest of the afternoon. I will now move the following resolution: that the press and public be excluded from consideration of the following items on the agenda as they contain exempt information as defined in accordance with the provisions of paragraphs 1, 2 and 4 of part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972 as amended. All those in favour, please show. Yeah. Okay, that is carried. So we will now move upstairs. Is that all right, everyone?